My roots are in Atlanta, but my vibrating peach could be inside you. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I am here to review season 15, episode 13 of The Real Housewives with Vibrating Peaches of Atlanta. We start the episode off and it's Christmas time. We see all the decorations, the trees, the Christmas music. Sonya, she's outside of her house playing around with her husband Ross and son Deuce, and also hoping that Santa Claus drops a contract for season 16 down her chimney. Then we head over to Kandi's house. She's talking to Todd about this movie for the 100th time. Todd is letting her know that they got Shamia, who's also a friend of and a friend of Kandi, into the movie, and she's playing a part of a stripper. Kandi, she lets Todd know,
well, I mean, I really don't care if we have family and friends in our movie. As long as they can act, it's okay with me.
And I love that Kandi gives opportunities to people in her circle, but at the same time, Kandi, it's almost like a double-edged sword, because yeah, you're doing a favor for somebody else, and I know that she's coming from a good place of heart and everything, but you never know how the other person is. They might be ungrateful or take advantage of it. That's why I always feel like you can never mix family and friends with business, because they're not going to take you seriously. And look at the situation between you and Drew. It's kind of like awkward because you're supposed to film a movie, but yeah, you two are kind of having issues and she's just not going to take you serious. So, then we head over to Marlo. She's doing a Christmas photo shoot with her nephews, and that's something I really love about Marlo, that she incorporates, them into any photo shoot that she does. And the photo shoots always come out looking so nicely. She's sitting in the glam chair. She's getting everything done. I believe it was Michael who tells her, Monty, do you think that maybe Chef Scott Lee should Marlo, what did you want me to say on camera? Okay, I'm sorry. Do you think that Chef Scott Lee should come over for Christmas dinner? What do you think? And I'm like, now Michael and William, how much did Marlo pay both of you to ask that on camera? It just came out of nowhere. Like, they actually know Scott Lee already. But Marlo, she gives a good answer. She tells them, you know what, Michael and William, I really honestly don't think that Scott Lee's gonna come over anytime too soon. It's way too soon. I just met him. I'm still getting to know him, And okay, it's understandable. She just met him like 2 seconds ago. Understandable. Then we circle back to Sonya's house, unfortunately, and she's going into her house. Shari's there on the floor. They're wrapping presents. Sonya's telling her, you know what, Shari, I'm feeling some type of way that you're not really there for my important moments in my life. Yeah, she has to worry about where she's gonna live next since you kicked her out the house a couple of episodes ago, Sonya. And Shari's like, look, you took advantage of me. You think I'm a little girl and I'm your little sister. And I'm your sister, but I'm also a grown woman who have, their own schedule, have this, that going on. And Sonya, she's getting emotional. She starts crying. And, honestly, Sonya, the producers, the production team, they did Sonya no favors this season by not giving us what we really wanted, or at least what I would have wanted. A nice sit-down moment between her, Shari, her husband, even the parents, and Ross. We could have had that whole entire scene, because this is actually interesting to see, because it's actually real. There's real tension between them, but the production is just, they kind of just said, no, you're gonna be Ross's mouthpiece and you're gonna talk through him and talk to your sister like that, and that's it, instead of having Ross actually sit down and express his feelings to everybody. It's always been just Sonya speaking for him and no Ross whatsoever. So then we get another mini reunion at Blaze's restaurant between Kandi and the one and only Cynthia. Cynthia, she's a really cool dancer. Cynthia, boogie to the groove now. 5 points if you know where that song is from. But Cynthia, she hops out the car and she has her umbrella. It's storming, it's raining. She's walking in slow motion. She still looks beautiful after all these years. And, it's just, give me a moment. It's just, honestly, and maybe it's just me and, other people that watch the show, but I feel like me personally, I took for granted what we saw in Cynthia, the last couple of seasons, or all the seasons, honestly, because towards the end of her being on the show, I can't even lie, I was one of the people that were just like, okay, Cynthia, you're kind of boring. Like, you're not giving us anything else besides a divorce every other weekend. Like, what else do you have? And now, now that we have this season and we have Moneta and, Courtney and, Sonya, now I wish I wish I could take it all back. I wish I could go back and rewind the time and, appreciate Cynthia for what she brought to the show. I still appreciate her now that she's gone, but isn't that so funny how it plays out? But Kandi, she's happy to see her. She's telling her,
"Oh, hey, Cynthia, I'm so glad to see you again. I was very sad when you moved out to LA. What's been going on with you?"
Cynthia, she was quick to say, I really don't want to talk about my divorce right now. Everything's been going on, but, I moved back to Georgia and Atlanta and everything has been good. I just had a really, really good time. You know what I'm saying? But I had a really, really good time. You know what I'm saying, Kandi? And, Candy's telling her, okay, that's understandable. And I think that Cynthia, speaking of, she's also going to pop up on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this upcoming season. So, I don't know. I'm happy to see Cynthia. Just seeing her again, it just plays on the whole nostalgic thing. And I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. So, Kandi, she's letting her know that she's celebrating 11 years of her sex line that she's had. And it's just crazy. It's been 11 years that I've been watching Kandi talking about licking, fucking, and sucking and coming for 11 years. And I love it, but that's crazy. It's been so long. She's having an event for her new toy called a Peach Fuzz. And could you imagine if Kandi went all out for the promotion for this episode specifically in the intro where they hold their peaches? Instead of the regular graphics, it was all of them lined up with the actual toy in their hand, like, and then it starts vibrating. I mean, could you imagine? That would have took me off guard, but Kandi fills her in on how everybody on this show, minus Kenya and Moneta, have been constantly coming at her one way or another this whole entire season. And until she said it and I saw it in the flashbacks, I didn't realize that, yeah, Marlo, Sheree, Sonya, and now Drew have been constantly butting heads with Kandi this entire season over the most dumbest things. And I wish that Kandi would break the fourth wall and tell Cynthia and tell us, they're trying to make me work for my Bravo check. Like, could you imagine? But, she refers back to the whole Drew situation, the whole LaToya kiss. Cynthia, she has no say in it because she was at the Bolo event, when it happened 2-3 seasons ago. But she wasn't necessarily there in the room when it happened. I believe she was sleeping. So Kandi in the confessional, she was just like,
"Well, you know what? I never want to out nobody."
and that right there, okay, you said it yourself, Kandi. Whatever happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon, but now you're trying to force it out. Like you're trying to make it happen. Like, oh no, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. But you yourself, you said whatever happens stays in the dungeon, but now you're not staying true to your word. And I believe she put something on Twitter that the only reason she's so pressed about it is because they're trying to call her a liar. And I get it, Kandi, that, you don't want your name to be associated with being a liar or you're trying to prove that you're telling the truth. But I mean, is it that serious? I guess it's not serious for me because I'm not in her shoes. So I guess it's serious to her, but it's still not that serious. But also, Cynthia was a guest on Kandi's Speak On It episode on YouTube, and it was very interesting because they talked about the whole Nene and Carlos King interview, and Cynthia, I feel like she kind of took a slight dig at Nene by saying, because Nene in the interview, she kept referring to, I'm the one who built this house, the house being the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and she kept insinuating that Cynthia was plotting against her to get her fired off the network, off the show, and now Cynthia replied, and she said, well, if you built this house, then go build another house. I'm pretty sure that you can. You're a star, right? You're Nene Leakes. Go build another house. I'm pretty sure that you can. I'm like, ooh, Cynthia knew exactly what she was saying. And Kandi, she agreed with her. And she also told Cynthia to her face, I don't think that you personally have any type of say-so or any type of power to get anybody fired on this show. And Cynthia agreed also. Cynthia also said, why would I even want to get rid of Nene? Like, she would benefit our show. Like, why would I do that in the first place? So that was that. And then eventually, Cynthia and Kandi, they shared a kiss. And I don't know, watching that, me personally, I had to kind of replay it a couple of times. I don't know, something about it. It was very nice. We see Kenya babysitting her baby cousin, and she's also with her daughter, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is having a good time playing around with the baby. She's telling Kenya that she also wants a sibling. Kenya, she wants to get pregnant because she wants this to come true, and she's telling Brooklyn, so do you want a baby brother or a baby sister? Brooklyn is like, oh, I want a baby brother. And Brooklyn is just so adorable. I love that she could have these conversations with her mom on camera like this, and they could play off each other. But the thing that I don't get, just like I was saying how Sonya production failed her, production is also failing Kenya, because Kenya, for the most part, she hasn't really, she's just kind of been there this whole entire season. But if we all remember that one episode where she went to go visit the empty salon thing that she was trying to do, the spa, with her friend Akila, what happened to that? We never heard about that again. We got one scene of her going to the construction site and looking at the location, and we never saw anything about that. Like, we should be seeing updates about that. I'm pretty sure that her spa is completely done by now. I follow her on Instagram, and I think I saw an update about it. So what's going on, Bravo? What's going on, production? What are we not seeing here? But then we head over to Drew's house. She's in the closet, no pun intended, with her two new assistants. Apparently she has new assistants now. They're just coming in and out like dominoes. But she's in there trying to fix, the closet between her and Ralph. And then Ralph, he shows up and they're like, oh, so we're going to give you more space in your closet. He shuts the whole shit down. He was just like, no, don't touch my shit. Don't touch my shit. Stop. This ain't Phaedra. Don't touch anything. And they're like, okay, so we're just going to go over there and get some water. So they leave, and Drew's filling him in on everything that happened in Portugal with the whole videotaping, the LaToya conversation, blah, blah, blah. The same thing happening over and over and over again about this whole kiss. And I thought that Ralph was going to be bothered, because I thought that that's where Drew's fear is coming from, that she doesn't want to seem unfaithful. But to my surprise, Ralph, he was just like, okay, what does it matter, like, if you did or didn't? And I'm like, okay, so if he doesn't have an issue with it, then why is this still being talked about? Like, Drew, I'm just very confused at the direction that we're going in with this conversation. Like, at first, we were all sick of Marlo bringing up the whole issue with her nephew, I believe, to Kandi over and over and over again for like 5 episodes. And finally, we got that out the way, and now we're stuck on this, and we're not letting it go. Hopefully, this is the last episode that we hear about this, but probably not. So then Ralph, he starts talking like, oh, so what's been going on with my cousin Courtney? And I don't get why they continue referring to Courtney as his cousin like that, like in third person, kind of like, oh, my cousin, my cousin, my cousin. We get it. Stop trying to make fetch happen. And Drew, she was just like, well, your cousin, I'm not going to refer to her as cousin anymore. I still have to get to know her because she's moving a little funny. And Ralph, he didn't really like that. He was just looking at her like. Then we head over to Marlo's place, and she's talking to her assistant about some calendar that she's doing. She also starts talking about our husband, Scott Lee, and how she doesn't know if he comes around the picture around her nephews. She doesn't really know how that's going to be, because they already have somebody that they're looking up to, and they don't know how it's going to be with their relationship with Scott Lee if he makes it that far. She's also a little iffy because he's in the nightlife industry, and she doesn't really like that, and which is shocking to me, because to me, Marlo, she gives me the vibe that she likes going out to have fun, party at night, but I guess not. And the assistant is telling her, well, I mean, that is his job. He does own a restaurant. He's a chef. It's not like he's doing anything on purpose like that. He's just trying to make a living. But Marlo, she pushes back and she's like, well, you know what? I get it and all, but I just don't know. I don't know if I could be with my husband. Oh, did I say husband? I mean with somebody, with a man who's constantly going out at nightclubs every other night. It's club, club, club. I don't know if I can do that. And I mean, I get it, Marlo, but I mean, it's Scott Lee. Just let him get away with that. Sheree then comes over to Kandi's house, and Kandi's asking her about her breasts that she just got done. Sheree's telling her that they're a little sore, they're a little sensitive, but over time, they're gonna be okay, but she loves them, and so does Martel, her boyfriend, and he also enjoys them when they're sleeping together. Sheree, cut it out. When you and Martel are sleeping together. Okay, whatever. So then she starts filling her in on what happened in Portugal after she left, after being in Portugal for 2 seconds. And she's telling her, well, Drew, she actually told me that you were kind of producing this whole movie in a different way. Like, you're trying to force this whole LaToya situation on her to try to get her in character. Kandi, she was taken back by this. She was just like,
what? Producing? Embezzled?
She was just like, I have never produced. I'm not producing that. That is crazy that she assumes that. And yeah, it is crazy. I said it last week. I don't like how Drew is wording that, how she kept saying, she's trying to get me in character by trying to ease this situation on LaToya, on me. It just sounds very awful. It just sounds gross the way she's trying to put that on Kandi. And Kandi feels insulted, especially since she put her in this project, in Todd's project, out of all, people. And that's what I said, Kandi. It's very hard to mix business with friends because, look, even if you do move on from from this. You're kind of looking at Drew like, I can't put you in anything else that I'm working on in the future because you might try to pull something stupid like this in the future. And Sheree just continues being messy by saying, yeah, she was definitely saying that. She said this, she said that. She couldn't believe that. I don't know about that. You know, it's very terrible of her to do. And I'm like, wow, Sheree. But we all know Sheree's a flip-flop. So Kandi's also talking about her peach event that she's having and that she invited everybody, including LaToya. We finally get to Kandi's Peach Fuzz event at the Selfie Museum, where you could take a bunch of pictures with different things in the background, and she's also promoting her new toy, the Peach Fuzz. There was this one model who, for a second, I thought he was completely naked because he had like a nude Speedo underwear thing going on, and he looked really, really good. So one by one, they all start coming in. Kandi's first. Kandi looks really, really good in that dress that she had on with the ponytail. Everything looked right. Then we have Sonya and Ross. Ross, he looks handsome in all black. Sonya, she also looked really nice in that orange dress. Then we have Courtney. Courtney comes in. She also looks really pretty. Then we have Moneta and her husband, Heath. Okay, right this way. Then Sheree. And Sheree, I mean, you know, couldn't you put like a little bit of orange on or something? I mean, I get it that the color scheme was kind of like nude, brown, peachy, orange colors, but Sheree kind of just put on her coat and said, okay, I'm showing up. But she looks nice, I guess. And then Marlo. Whoo, Marlo. Marlo walked into that selfie museum with no panties on. That dress that she had on. I mean, like I said, Marlo could never do wrong with any of her fashions. Like, she looks so good in anything, including her reunion look. You know, I know that we all saw the reunion looks by now, and, you know, I at first I'm like, what the hell is everybody wearing? But then I zoom in on Marlo, and Marlo, you know, I think I like Marlo's look. I need to see it in motion. I'm not sure, but we'll get to that eventually. So Marlo walks in, and I also love her bedazzled purse that she had. It was also in the shape of a peach. So I just love her look. So she walks in, and I just love how Kandi and Marlo, they were interacting. You know, I know Kandi doesn't even have to, you know, bring Marlo here or give her invitation, especially with everything that Marlo has been doing to her the whole season. So I'm glad that Kandi just invited her anyway, and she was complimenting her like, oh, I love your dress, I love your look, I love this. But unfortunately, in the confessional, she said, yeah, I can invite her to my things. We could be cordial, but I don't want any type of friendship with her moving forward. And Marlo, that's your own doing, unfortunately. So that was that. Eventually, they were all mingling. Everybody was taking pictures. It was a really, really cute event. We also saw T.S. Madison make an appearance, and I really, really, really wish that they would give her a peach for next season, or at least make her a friend of the show. I mean, she's already friends with Kandi. I can just already see her versus Marlo. I mean, Marlo, whoo! You know, you're not ready for T.S. Madison. And her confessionals, I'm pretty sure that T.S. Madison will be just so hilarious on this show. And I believe that she lives in Atlanta or in Georgia somewhere. So bravo, come on now, let's make this happen. So Kandi, she gets together with everybody again, and she's there to explain her little Peach Fuzz toy, right? So she's telling them,
okay, so you know, you can use this when you're getting hit from the back.
well, damn, Kandi. I mean, okay, continue explaining. So she continues on with saying that I think that the peach, the point of it is that it vibrates. So, you know, you could use it like this. You could use it on your cheeks when you're giving head. And I'm like, now, wait a minute. You know, back in my day, you know, when it came to sucking dick, you didn't need anything to massage your face. You kind of just, you know, you kind of got down to it and you got to business. You know, you didn't need all these other toys to massage your face. You know, a real dick sucking hoe will do it properly. They didn't need any type of equipment, but I guess things changed. She goes on to say, oh yeah, you could put this underneath the ball sack. And I'm like, oh my, you know what, Kandi? I think you're onto something. I think I'm gonna have to call a couple of my old hoes to give me one of these things because it seems very useful in the future. Sonya, she's jotting everything down. She was like, okay, I'm gonna use this, this, and this to get pregnant. And congratulations to her because she actually is pregnant as of now. So who knows, maybe it did work. At one point, Sonya wanted to get Ross on this contraption thing, like this giant thing shaped like an X, and he was not playing around with her. He said no. And if I was her, I would have emailed production that same night, like, can you not include that into the episode, please? I feel so embarrassed. So then Kenya, she pops in next and she looks good in that orange dress, followed by Cynthia. Cynthia also looks nice in her orange dress, her black hair. I love the black on her. So they're sitting down, they're mingling. Candy's telling them,
I just really don't appreciate how Drew kept saying that I was producing something between everybody and LaToya. Like, I would never do that.
So then speaking of Drew, she pops in next with Ralph and both of them look nice. I like the dress. And Cynthia was Cynthia-ing because she hugs her. She's like, oh, Drew, we were just talking about you. All right, Cynthia, you know, she's a veteran to this. But Drew's just like, oh, really? About what? What's going on? And Candy's just looking at her like, oh, we're gonna talk soon, don't worry. So then Marlo, she pops up in front of Ralph and she starts showing him a bunch of pictures like, look what happened to this lady. She got into a really bad car accident and Scott Lee stopped to take care of her and to help her out. Like, he's such a sweetheart. Ralph is looking at her like, okay, what are you telling me this for? And you know, then she starts zooming in on the pictures like, oh, look at his injuries. And I'm looking at the pictures like, what injuries? Like the one little scratch on his pinky? Like, okay, Marlo, if he didn't want to go to the event, that's all you had to say. You didn't have to make up this whole elaborate scheme of, oh, you know, she got into a car accident. He's my Superman, blah, blah, blah. It's just very convenient with the time, right? So then she goes on to say, you know what, Ralph? I really don't want to have an issue with you because you're my Aquarius brother. And you know, that's one thing, side note, that is such a pet peeve of mine that I've noticed lately. It's like a trend now. Like, people continuously say, oh, you know, you do this because you're a Virgo. You're so this because you're a Sagittarius. You're so this because you're a Cancer. Like, for any stupid reason. Like, oh, you're breathing oxygen? You must be a Gemini. Like, people are just way out of control with the whole astrology thing, and it's just never that serious. But so then Ralph is just like, yeah, I don't either, but you know, I didn't like that you mentioned me in the conversation with my wife. I don't appreciate that. And Marlo's like, you know what? I apologize, but you know, Drew, she said this about me, about my career, and I just said that me and you, we both work in tech, so I don't really get the problem. But you know what? Your wife is delusional, and you know, she has her issues, and that's that. And Ralph, instead of defending her, he was just like, oh yeah, she is. And they kind of bonded over that. So then Marlo, she disappears into the crowd. Next thing you know, LaToya, you know, from like 2-3 seasons ago, she pops up, she hugs Marlo, and she goes with everybody else. And she looks really, really pretty. I like the dress that she had on. And, you know, her and Drew, they're having a face-off like, okay, what's happening? What's going on? Candy's like, okay, I need to talk to both of you in private. So they go upstairs and, you know, it was so interesting. LaToya, she was trying to explain herself to them and she kept losing me because the way she was talking, she was just like, and this whole situation between me and Drew, and I don't remember kissing her, but I did kiss her, but I'm not sure why Marlo was sending me the video. And I'm like, oh, okay, can we speed this up and drop the subject? And it was so funny that Kandi, while she's listening, she's just serving body, yaddy, yaddy. She has her hand on her hip, ass out, titties out, ponytail down her back. She's just like, So then Don Juan, he goes to get Marlo. He's like, Marlo, let's go. Kandi needs you upstairs. Marlo's like, wait a minute, is there security? So he brings her upstairs. Marlo is so hilarious. She has a little peach in her hand. She goes in and she was just like, oh, is anybody calling for me? What does everybody want from me? Then she bends over and she was just like, is somebody trying to buzz me in? She is so funny to me. And Candy's just like, oh my God. So embarrassed. And Drew and LaToya are just looking at her with her ass in their face like, can you get this out the way? So then Marlo's like, what happened? What's going on? And Drew starts explaining like, look, I just feel like you really edited that video that you sent LaToya. And I'm like, you see, Drew, you're losing me. I think you completely lost me this whole episode because now Marlo edited the whole video. Like, what? The fact that Kenya, Kandi, and Marlo are in agreement of this whole situation has me looking at you like, I feel like you're lying. I'm not sure why, but I feel like you're lying. So she was like, I feel like you edited the video and I just don't like that. I don't appreciate that. And that's where Marlo was just like, you know what? I had enough. I'm leaving. Goodbye. So she's walking back out. Drew screaming at her. Marlo, right before she leaves, she turns around and she was just like, and scene. Trying to piss her off even more. You know, that's a callback to what Kandi told her back in Portugal when Drew walked out. So that was that. Marlo walks away. She goes downstairs and she was just like, I don't really understand what's going on. She continues to be petty by texting Drew. Did you kiss her? Marlo, ooh, Marlo is something. But back upstairs, LaToya and Drew, they're talking about this whole situation. They're going in circles. Kandi's like, look, can we just put this to rest? I really don't care. It is what it is. Like, that's what I saw. And that's that. And I don't really think that we really got a proper solution because Drew is just kind of like dancing in circles. LaToya is just there just to be there. And then, just when Drew completely lost me, she gains me back because then we see at the very end of the episode, there's a clip. You know, the producer's asking Drew in the confessional, why do you think that Kandi's so obsessed over this? Like, what's going on? And then we see the footage of an old, you know, after show from like 2 years ago with LaToya and Kandi. And then Kandi, you know, I'm over here taking up for you that you're not a liar, that I'm on your side. And then here we see it in this clip that you say, you know, I think what I saw was you, LaToya, and Drew kissing. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I'll take it back and I'm sorry. But that's what I saw. So I'm like, Kandi, so which one is it? Because you were so 100% sure that this is what happened. But now we see in this clip that you're taking it back and you're like, I think that's what I saw. So it's not 100% accurate. So there's a chance that it could be false. But I guess we'll never truly know, at least for now. But let me know what you all thought about this whole entire episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.